What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian 180, Dedrian Cologne. Man, what a night, what a night, what a night. This is my review for the October 10th episodes of WWE NXT and AEW Dynamite. Yes, they were going head to head tonight, and I loved all of it. It was fun, it was entertaining. The second hour for both shows just kicked into high gear, and man, it was amazing. And man, I am tired. For those of you who are watching this review, I was doing a live watch along on the City of Rasslin Instagram account, as well as doing a live watch along on my personal TikTok account. So I had this ear, I had Dynamite, and I had my other headphones in this ear, smaller one, and I was listening to NXT. So I had Dynamite and NXT in both my ears while watching it, taking notes, live tweeting, just enjoying what this night meant. And man, this was a fun night. I mentioned this during the live watch along that I was doing on the City of Rasslin Instagram channel, and that video is actually up on the City of Rasslin Instagram channel. I mentioned that if you are a big fan of sports entertainment and the spectacle, NXT was spot on tonight. If you were a fan of pro wrestling and just the physicality and everything, AEW Dynamite was your show tonight. And man, I'm really interested to see what the ratings are. Not because, AEW did a horrible job and WWE and vice versa or anything like that. Just to get a gauge of where both brands and just the interest and intrigue from wrestling fans is currently at right now. I mean, the last time we've had NXT and AEW go head to head was 2021. Yeah, I think it was 2021. Yeah, it was 2021 that they went head to head, and then they went on Tuesdays and that whole thing. So this was fun and everything. Like I said, I enjoyed it. Everything with Cody Rhodes, John Cena, LA Knight being the special referee, seeing Jade Cargill. Then, of course, in the end, we'll get into what happened at the end with The Undertaker. That was really cool. It was like, okay, I see how they used that. And then on the AEW side, the Swerve Strickland Hangman Page feud, how both men cost each other their matches tonight. Again, I'll get into that a little bit later. Christian Cage and Adam Copeland, that whole back and forth, and Christian taking digs at Judgment Day and Beth Phoenix. It's like, whoa, Christian Cage is a savage. Juice Robinson declaring that he's going to go in the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal. I am not going to discuss the interaction between Juice Robinson and MJF. I'll leave that for other people. That whole segment, not my place to discuss it. I'll just leave it at that. But other than that, I mean, seeing Sheeta win the title, which I didn't expect or anything like that. This was just a good old-fashioned, entertaining wrestling night, and it's very promising for both AEW and WWE going forward. Of course, WWE being the industry leader, they're gonna have no problems. But going forward, man, AEW and WWE, they put on some really good shows tonight, and man, I had fun with it. But let's get into this. Normally, when I do these reviews, I'll have like 5 to 6 things to talk about. So I'm splitting it up to the top 3 things that I liked about NXT and the top 3 things I liked about Dynamite. So I'm gonna go with Dynamite, NXT, Dynamite, NXT, Dynamite, NXT, that whole thing. But man, I just had fun doing it, man. I had fun doing the watch along, and man, now I am gonna admit, I had fun doing the watch along. I had fun doing the Instagram live and the TikTok and live tweet and everything. I don't want it to become a regular thing, because towards the end of the second hour, just like, man, this is intense, because it was just, everything was just increasing. The vignettes, the promos, the interaction, boom, 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 boom. Like, it was just, I'm like, man, this is a lot. But I enjoyed it. But let's get into this. Starting with AEW Dynamite, like I mentioned before, Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page. At first, because Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson were the first match, and I'm like, oh man, I hope Swerve wins. I love Prince Nana doing the dance, and then this, I loved it. So, like I said, when Bryan Danielson won, I'm like, man, here we go again, man. It's like when Swerve Strickland gets some momentum, then he loses, then he's off TV for a while, then he comes like, oh no, not this again. But then later on, when Hangman Page was fighting with wrestling against Jay White, Prince Nana interferes and cost Hangman Page the match. So I'm like, ooh, I caught that right. I was like, wait a minute, they cost each other the match. So I'm like, ooh, okay, I like that now. I like that because, it wasn't just one person losing the match because of, Hangman Page and, Hangman Page lost and now we're going to, it's like, okay. It was like both men cost each other their matches. So that tells me right away that this feud is going to continue. Are we going to get the Embassy and, more of the Elite? That might be actually true considering what happened at the end of Dynamite with the Edge, Luchasaurus, Nick Wayne, Bryan Danielson, the BCC, Embassy, Hangman Page, just Swerve, that whole thing going on. So we might get that. So I'm interested to see where this goes. I really enjoyed the promos between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page leading up to their match at Wrestle Dream. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. And now having that match and that build up as their history, and now with this, it's like, okay, now we're just adding a little bit more to this match and to this feud. So it's just like, okay, I like this. I like where this is going. Full Gear in LA. More than likely, we're getting Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland Part 2. I would be surprised if Strickland wins this match. But then again, I do see Hangman Page. I see the Hangman Page, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega winning whatever matches they have at Full Gear. Because it's the Young Bucks backyard. So I do see that happening in some way, shape, or form with Hangman Page going forward. Now, moving on to NXT. This was just a brief segment, but it was a video. Forgive me, guys. I don't know how I missed this. Probably talking and live streaming and tweeting and taking notes and everything. Paul Heyman talking with Ava Raine regarding the bloodline. Now, I know some of you are like, Ava Raine, like, huh? Who, what? I'm going to put it in layman's terms. Paul Heyman discussing the bloodline with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's daughter. There you go. From the video that I saw and the clip and everything, there wasn't much said, but man, is that some good stuff. I wish that involvement, that Heyman talking to Eva Raine, I wish it would have happened to Naomi, Trinity Fatu, Nia Jax, and Tamina Snuka like 2 years ago when the bloodline, or more, 2.5 years ago, when the bloodline was first forming. A lot of people, including myself, are like, man, okay, Roman has the Usos, he has Heyman. It's like, man, you put Trinity, you put Nia Jax, you put Tamina, man, now you got the bloodline. Trinity, they dominate the women's division. Roman and the Usos, they're going to dominate, the men's division, the bloodline. Like, you have to beat the bloodline. That was what most people were kind of anticipating the bloodline evolving into. Of course, 3 years later, it's evolved into something else with Solo and everything. But man, that's such a good, like, maybe it's an Easter egg. Maybe it's just something really good to get people talking about and just get people wondering, like, man, are we going to get The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. It's like, ooh, that's good. Man, that's some good stuff. Man, I saw that. It's like, and what added to that video of people being like, oh my God, he's talking to Eva Raine. It wasn't necessarily Heyman. Of course, Heyman's going to pitch, whatever he's got, he's going to pitch to somebody. But it was Eva Raine's mannerisms, like, like there was an intrigue and a curious look that she had while Heyman was talking. It's like, ooh, man, this is good. Like if they bring her on, man, that's dope. But again, like I said, man, I wish they would have brought Naomi, Nia Jax, and Tamina Snuka into the bloodline 2 years earlier, because then that would have added a little bit more to the bloodline, which, granted, it's already 3 years. You can't go back and change history. But, man, for me personally, that would have added a little bit more seasoning to the bloodline storyline. And actually, when you think about it, if they would have added Tamina, Nia Jax, and Naomi, before Naomi left, it actually would have added a lot more layers to the bloodline storyline, where we wouldn't have gotten some of the things after WrestleMania where it's like, okay, Jimmy leaves, comes back, that whole thing where a lot of fans were kind of divided and everything. For the most part, the bloodline, most fans just enjoyed the bloodline storyline, but after WrestleMania, just like a lot of things got convoluted. It's like, but I don't know. We'll see where this goes with Paul Heyman and Eva Raine. Who knows? We got, let's see, it's October, November, December, January, February, March, April. We got 6, 7, 8 months, 7 months or something like that. So I don't know. We'll see. Now, going back to AEW Dynamite, man, these Adam Cole, Roderick Strong videos are hilarious. I know some people don't like it because it's like, oh, it's corny, it's this, it's that. It just adds to the speculation, curiosity, and just the questions that a lot of fans have. Like, is Adam Cole really injured? Is this a work? Is what's going on? And in the skit, Adam Cole mentions, like, man, I got to leave Roddy. I got surgery. And Roderick Strong's like, no, you got to go here. The funny thing about this skit, and these skits the past couple weeks, is that Roderick Strong is still in the hospital gown that he had at Grand Slam. And right away, it's like, man, that freaking hospital gown gotta stink, man. That gotta stink, man. That's, Lord have mercy. But man, this skit, what I found funny was Roderick Strong had Adam Cole cut his grass with one leg because he had it propped up on the, I forgot what the thing's called, where, if you injure your foot and you don't have to put pressure on it, it has you elevate the wheel. You guys know what I'm talking about. Forgive me. Comment below what that thing is called. I've seen it before. I've had friends have that. It's on the tip of my tongue. But so they had him cutting grass. Then they're on the couch, and then Matt Taven has this big giraffe, and he's like, oh, and Adam Cole, he has the Neck Strong t-shirts and everything. So that's, I found it hilarious. Now, fast forward, in the show, MJF, he's having an interview with Renee Paquette after the interaction between him and Bullet Club Gold, and he's hot and heated and everything. And he's like, I really don't want to have an interview right now. So he picks up his phone, he calls Adam Cole. Adam Cole picks up, and he's like, man, I need you here. Man, I'm getting attacked from every place. Man, I need a friend. And Adam Cole is like, well, I'm taking care of Roddy because he got lost in some place and everything. And it's like, ooh, okay, this is very interesting. Now, when he picked up the phone and he didn't, was breaking up and everything, right away, I'm like, man, are they taking a page from the Hulk Hogan Paul Orndorff feud in 1986? If you go back and watch that feud, which is that's actually one of the best Hulk Hogan feuds of all time. For me personally, that was like the best feud before Hulk Hogan for Andre and Macho Man before he just started getting like kind of like watered down, and it's like, man, that feud was really good. But one of the major things about that feud back in 1986 was that Hulk Hogan was off doing something, and Paul Orndorff kept on calling him, and he didn't answer. So it's like, it's like, are they taking a page out of that, or is MJF going to snap like Paul Orndorff did on Hulk Hogan, and the Kingdom are going to be faces, or is Adam Cole going to turn on MJF, and this whole time Adam Cole's been in cahoots with the Kingdom to wear down MJF to the point where he's so weak, he doesn't have any friends, and he's vulnerable to drop the AEW World title. And after he hung up the phone, there was a really cool interaction between Max Caster and MJF and the Acclaimed. And Max Caster's, hey, if you need a friend. And everyone's like, oh man, they have this back and forth banner that they have on Twitter, which is hilarious. And like Renee Paquette called it aggressive. It's just, if you follow both of them, you know what I'm talking about. So Billy Gunn's like, man, I didn't know you, he's like, hey, what are you doing offering our services? And like, hey, what's going on here? And Max Caster mentions, he's like, hey, I've known him for 10 years. I started out with him, and, he's my friend. So it's like, and I remember someone on, I think, TikTok or Twitter mentioned, like, man, it'd be pretty cool if the Acclaimed with MJF kind of be like a DX, because if the way they broke it down was like, man, if you really look at it, MJF is like the Triple H, and the Acclaimed are like the New Age Outlaws. All you're missing is like whoever fills that X-Pac spot. There you go. So it's like, that's really interesting how this happened and everything. But I don't know. We shall see where this goes with MJF and Adam Cole. I know next week, I believe it's next week, Juice Robinson is going to be in the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal, which MJF has won since its inception. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out and how that correlates with MJF and Adam Cole's relationship, which is right now on screen very tense. And MJF is just like, man, I can't, you say you're my friend, but you're not there. So it's really interesting how that's playing out. Now, switching over to WWE NXT, Braun Breaker versus the WWE Legends. He confronts John Cena. He punches John Cena, misses a spear, attitude adjustment, boom, boom, boom. I thought that was really interesting, really cool. And the reason why I have this as one of the things that stuck out to me was because you can tell this was Shawn Michaels and Triple H giving Braun Breaker that rub, that Legends rub. Like, okay, here you go. You had your interaction. You know what's next. And I think it's only a matter of time before Braun Breaker is elevated to the main roster. I would not be surprised. I could see Braun Breaker being elevated to the main roster. Maybe Royal Rumble. If not Royal Rumble, I could definitely see it after WrestleMania. So he has that. Then later on in the main event, him and Carmelo Hayes. He's beating down Carmelo Hayes. Dong, lights go out. Undertaker comes out on his bike. It's American Badass and everything. So he comes out. They're staring at each other. Taker chokeslams him. Then he grabs the mic and he looks down on Braun Breaker and he tells him, hey, here's the thing. There's always going to be somebody older, wiser, meaner, and badder than them all. And that's me. And that's how the show finished and everything. So I think it was their way of giving Braun Breaker that rub so then he could go to the next level. Similar to, now that I think about it, it's kind of reminiscent of when Undertaker, not in the same fashion or manner or anything, but if you guys remember when John Cena first came on the scene, he had that backstage handshake with Undertaker, which was kind of like his rub. So I think that's WWE's modern day version of giving Braun Breaker that rub. Me personally, Braun Breaker has possibly the best spear in all of pro wrestling, man. He is, from when he first started doing the spear to where he is now, man, that is a vicious thing that he does. Like, whew, man. Man, I gotta say, man, it's almost, he delivers that almost like Goldberg, man. And that's saying something. But yeah, I think it's WWE's way of giving Braun Breaker that rub. So we shall see if he's elevated to the main roster at Royal Rumble. If not Royal Rumble, definitely probably the night after WrestleMania, which should be very intriguing and interesting considering what may happen in 2024, the first 3 months of 2024. So we'll see. Now, going back to AEW's AEW Dynamite, the women of AEW. Man, this is interesting. There's several characters that are growing. It's unfortunate that Julia Wright, is off TV, but it's with, valid reason. She's, getting married and taking some time off, so that's cool. Her character's evolving. It's real interesting that Chris Statlander, it's 50-50 with the AEW Women's Division. There's some that are, there's definitely those that you see like, oh, their character is growing. And then there's others like, man, where's this person at? So it's something that a lot of fans, have been somewhat voicing their opinions about on social media, and rightfully so. It makes sense if you are a fan, of the AEW Women. I'm a fan of the AEW Women's Division, and it's like, hey, we'd like some more integration of the women, not only in the Women's Division but also on AEW television. And you got it tonight. Tony Storm's interview with RJ City, and I thought it was pretty brilliant and genius of AEW. She mentions, oh, I'm gonna have this film and it's silent, and it's like, man, why would she have a silent film? And they put it during the picture-in-picture segment, so you had to pay attention to what she was doing, which I know some people are like, oh, it's stupid, is this. If you've had the privilege to watch silent films, you know that you have to pay attention to the mannerisms, the facial expressions, because that's what's speaking, not the actual person's voice, but just their mannerisms for you to interpret what they're saying. And she's driving, swatting things, and doing all these goofy things, and I'm like, what? I'm like, this is hilarious. I really enjoyed it. It was a smart, clever way to do something outside of the norm of what normally is in the place of the picture-in-picture segment on AEW Dynamite. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I hope they do a little bit more creativity during the picture-in-picture. And I think that's something with AEW that it's 4 years old, and I think that's where, among other things, that AEW needs to take to the next level. Like, they really need to take their creativity to the next level. And when you take your creativity to the next level, you kind of shuffle things around. Not too much, but you shuffle things around to the point where it's not predictable. Where it's just intriguing, there's curiosity, there's enthusiasm, there's excitement, and it's not predictable. It's like, okay, we know it's picture-in-picture. Oh, they're not going to just have a match and go through it. It's like, oh, they're going to have this. Okay, that's cool. But also, didn't expect this. Some people were anticipating Mercedes Moné or maybe, I don't know, Mariah May. There you go. That's what I was like, there's somebody else that was rumored of, or there was high speculation amongst fans that, they could see showing up tonight. And Hikaru Shida is the new AEW Women's Champion. Now, this was an interesting way how they executed. This was a long match. Like, this is probably one of the longest women's matches that AEW's had. Man, probably since, I think, the two Britt Baker Thunder Rosa matches. I believe the steel cage match that they had in 2020, fall of 2022. Was that fall of 2022 or 20? Yeah, I think it was fall of 2022. But yeah, I believe it was that match that was like the longest match. maybe, but man, this was a long match, but this was a good match. I recommend you guys watch this match. I enjoyed it. It was fun. What's ironic is that you had this match going on, and then you had Danny Palmer and Lola Vice on NXT going on, and you could see the difference between the presentation of the women's division in AEW and the NXT women's division. In NXT, you had a little bit more aggressiveness, and rightfully so. And then with AEW, there was just this paceful, methodical storytelling, which I'm not going to say one's better than the other. Whichever one you like more, of course you're going to gravitate. If you like the more aggressive style, NXT was your thing. If you like the more methodical, just, hey, this is a championship match, both champion and challenger are strategic in their match, that was your style. But yeah, I was surprised by this. Ruby Soho tried to spray Shida. She took the mask off. She ran off. Saraya tried to spray Shida, and lo and behold, timeless Toni Storm comes down and she starts beating Ruby Soho with her shoes. It looked like slippers, but it was her shoe. Watch out for the shoe. I thought that was hilarious. The crowd popped. They were laughing, and Toni Storm just looking around with the shoe and everything, and they're laughing. That was hilarious. And Shida is the new AEW Women's Champion. I did not expect that. I think most people, including myself, were anticipating Saraya having the title a little bit longer, going into Full Gear, where we would potentially see a Saraya Mercedes Moné confrontation. And well, we didn't get that tonight, or I don't know if we're gonna get that with the AEW World Championship, but that's what most people were anticipating going forward, that we would get a confrontation with Saraya and Mercedes Moné for the AEW Women's Championship. So apparently AEW is going in a different direction. I'm interested to see where this is going. I would not be surprised if we get a Hikaru Shida versus Mercedes Moné match, which that would give a lot of those men matches a run for their money, because that would be a awesome match. And Hikaru Shida is a very underrated wrestler. I know there's quite a few people that give her props, but man, she's a very underrated wrestler. A lot of wrestlers who've wrestled Hikaru Shida, some of their best matches has been with her. So I'm interested to see where this goes with the AEW Women's Division and who's going to be her challengers. Of course, we got Toni Storm, but there's a lot of women within that division that we haven't seen on TV in a while. It's like, okay, when are we going to bring them back? Is the women's division going to be more integrated in other storylines outside of the women's division? And are more of the women in the AEW women's division that we don't see going to be integrated in the women's division? So there's a lot of questions, and hopefully we get more answers, and hopefully we get more solutions to this. So fingers crossed, we shall see what happens with Hikaru Shida and the AEW Women's Championship going forward. Now, moving on to NXT, you had, Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes with John Cena. That was very interesting. These were, the other NXT storylines that I saw. And basically, right now, outside of this, there's Trick Williams and the Brian Pillman vignette. Other stuff, you had Asuka being greeted by a lot of the women's wrestlers, and of course Tiffany Stratton, which I was like, ooh man, I cannot wait for Asuka versus Tiffany Stratton. That match, chef's kiss. That is going to be a great match. But yeah, the Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes with John Cena, that was really interesting. Man, I really think the way they're playing this and the way they're doing this, man, I'm trying to think of, what? Now it comes to mind. Knowing that who's in charge of NXT and everything. The Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes dynamic you can tell that they're taking some elements from Shawn Michaels and Triple H when they were headed into WrestleMania 20. Was it 23? Yeah, 23 in Detroit. And if you remember, that was the time that Triple H messed up his knee and he missed WrestleMania. I believe he missed WrestleMania. And you had that brief, there was like this subtle tension between Shawn Michaels and Triple H. Like, hey, we're in line to get the WWE Championship, but like, is this going to cause us, to break up, fight amongst each other? Like, I can see that's where they're taking some of the elements of this Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes feud, where it's just like, it's this weird tension. It's a competitive tension, but at the same time, they're respecting everything. And Carmelo Hayes, he's apologetic, man, I missed the ball. He's like, man, don't worry about it. It's cool. And Cena eases the tension. And then later on, you got Trick Williams. Once Carmelo Hayes leaves, he looks at Cena. He's like, hey, when did you know it was your time? And Johnny said, come on, let's talk. So I thought that was cool. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. That is a very intriguing and interesting storyline they have, not just in NXT, but in WWE as a whole. That has a lot of people interested in that storyline. Then the Brian Pillman vignette. Ooh, this was really interesting. Granted, I'm familiar with Brian Pillman, when he was in AEW. Man, he has a lot of aggression. By that, he was speaking with a lot of aggression and intensity, his inflection, his cadence. There was, you sense this confidence, this direction, and just like, okay, he's got something that this is going to go somewhere. And, in AEW, he had his moments, but I think this, granted, it's not a knock at AEW. It's just, again, this is almost like pro wrestling is almost like the movie industry. There's certain roles that people fit in certain production companies. That's just how it works. And I'm interested to see where they're gonna go with this Brian Pillman vignette. He mentioned, the person who was like my father, King. Of course, it was already reported that his new name would be Alexis King, which is taken from both his, I believe it's both his sisters, who I believe one or if not both passed away. So at first it was like, Alexis King, like, huh? But then shout out to Sean Rossett, he actually broke down the backstory. But really interesting. So with that, folks, I enjoyed NXT and Dynamite on the same night. I hope it's a long time before they do that, because doing a watch along on Instagram Live and TikTok was very fun but challenging. Taking notes, live tweeting, that was a whole nother thing. But I enjoyed both shows. I gotta say, I know most people are like, which show was better? It doesn't matter, because we won. I had fun watching this, and I think the fans win. That's all that matters. And looking forward to what's going to happen on SmackDown, Rampage, Collision, Monday Night Raw. Actually, Friday's the season premiere of SmackDown, so I'm really interested on that, and Roman Reigns return. So looking forward to that, and just having fun with wrestling. And man, I enjoyed myself watching WWE and AEW tonight. And for me, that's all that matters, and I hope that's all that matters to you. So with that, that is my review for the October 10th episodes of WWE NXT and AEW Dynamite. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notifications whenever you're notified when the City of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, Threads. Did I mention Instagram? Yeah, Instagram and all that. And folks, have a wonderful, safe night, day, whenever you're going to watch this review. Just be safe and enjoy wrestling. Enjoy your loved ones. And with that, folks, I'm out.